Hi, Block 6. Thanks for giving me a little bit of grace today since I'm not feeling well. I appreciate you. Let's go through today's slides together, shall we? Today, if we were together, I'd be going over tips for analytical paragraphs. We'd be reading Kindred the Fight, sections 6 through 7. In your small groups, you'd be brainstorming analytical question number 2. And then on your own, I need you to read actually sections 6 through 10, and analytical question number 2 you need to write. I'm going to go over everything today so that you feel super confident in this. Okay. Okay, so tips for analytical paragraphs. There's a mini lesson in your digital notebook on slide 28. So let's go over there. So here it is. Okay, so on slide 28, mini lesson number 7, tips for analytical paragraphs. What I want you to pay attention to, look at these weak words and phrases. I don't want you to use any of these in your analytical paragraph. They take away from the credibility and they make it sound like your paragraph isn't as strong or confident, and it hurts your credibility as a writer. So don't use first person in any of your analytical paragraphs, okay? Don't use I or my or we. Don't say I think, my claim, in my quote, here we can see, any of those things. Now, don't use any of this informal or obvious or uncertain language down here. Don't use contractions. Say do not instead of don't. Say cannot instead of can't. It's more formal and therefore it's better writing. Don't say this is a good example because this quote shows in this book, in conclusion. All of those are very obvious statements and they detract and make it sound like your paragraph is just not as good. When you say things like it seems, the word seems makes it sound uncertain. Like it seems like it's going to be warm today. Well, is it or isn't it? We don't know. Seems sounds uncertain. Might has the same effect. Could and possibly, those are uncertain words. You're trying to say with confidence in your paragraph, this is my topic statement and I am supporting it with, this is my claim and I am supporting it with text evidence. Therefore, I am confident in what I am saying to you. And words like might and could and possibly don't sound very confident. So avoid those in your analytical paragraphs, okay? All right, in this section, we would be covering the fight in class sections 6 through 7. Let's go over the questions on slide 25. In your digital notebook on slide 25, the first question is, Dana says that Tom Whalen wasn't a monster. He was just an ordinary man who sometimes did the monstrous things his society said were legal and proper. And that, if you're on my book, is on page 134. Why does Dana make that distinction? So when you read that quote, which is in section 6, you're going to think about why Dana makes the distinction between not being a monster, but just being an ordinary man who does monstrous things. What is the difference? Why do you think she makes that distinction? Why does she make a point of saying that there's a difference there? Also think about what bigger statement about society Butler is making. So Octavia Butler, our author, has said some things that make it look like she's making a bigger statement about society from the way certain people are treated in this book. Your job for this second question is to think about what exactly that bigger statement is. My glasses are being very funky today. I'm not sure why. Okay. The second question I believe you find in section 8. Who was the father of some of Sarah's children, and how does this impact Dana's earlier judgments and attitude towards Sarah? When you find out who the father of some of Sarah's children are, it's going to make Dana think a little bit differently about some things that happened earlier in the book, and it's your job to tell us how that impacts those judgments that she made or those thoughts that she made earlier in the book, okay? Oops. Not listening to Midnight Train to Georgia today, unfortunately. Okay, so for analytical question number 2, your prompt is to explore how conventions from the genre of either science fiction or historical fiction, you're only picking one, impact the meaning of the text. So, for example, you could tell me how the convention of sci fi time travel allows Butler to demonstrate that our ancestors' past experience impacts us in the present. Okay? Let's find analytical question number 2 and talk about it. So I go down to our literary analysis unit and I'm clicking on today's folder and I'm going to click on analytical question number 2. And it looks like this. So the directions are you need to write a topic sentence with 3 pieces of text evidence to support it. Don't forget your citations for each quote. And what I want you to do is explore how conventions from the genre of science fiction or historical fiction impact the meaning of the text. So, conventions of genre just means the things that make it science fiction or the things that make it historical fiction. Well, Mrs. Anton, I don't know what those are because we did not cover them. Oh, yes, we did. We covered them on the first day of the unit. And guess what? They are in your digital notebook on slides 26 and 27. So here we have some things that make historical fiction what it is. If something conveys information about a specific time period or a historical event, it's historical fiction. If something takes place 30 years or more in the past, it's historical fiction. If it features an accurate and authentic setting, it's historical fiction. If it contains imaginary characters or people who actually lived during the time period, it's historical fiction. And if it focuses on documented historical events or a fictional plot, it's historical fiction. Slide 27 is science fiction. If it tells about science and technology of the future, it's science fiction. If it should not be completely believable, like some parts of Dana's time travel haven't been completely believable, it's science fiction. If it creates situations different from those of both the present day and the known past, it's science fiction. Human element explaining the effect of a new discovery, and so on and so forth. So you guys get the point here. So for step 1, I want you to list some conventions of science fiction or historical fiction that you are interested in writing in. So, or writing about, I should say. So you would go to these 2 slides, 26 and 27, and just list. Maybe write historical fiction, setting, science fiction, time travel. Just the different things that you might find like you can write about for this prompt. For step 2, you're going to use this space to find some text evidence for the stuff that you said in step 1. Okay, so if you're going to use historically accurate setting as your convention of historical fiction, find parts for step 2 where Butler talks about like the setting or parts of the antebellum South that she describes in detail. For example, something that would be historically accurate setting is a description of the plantation or a description of slavery that Dana gives us. Those are both parts of the setting that have to be historically accurate in order for us to buy into this book, right? We don't believe that Dana is time traveling and we don't believe that she's in danger in the antebellum South if the time period isn't accurate. If there was no slavery included in the book, we wouldn't really, the whole part about Dana being in danger in Maryland in 1815 wouldn't really matter. Okay. It also wouldn't be historically accurate. When you get to your step 3. You're going to write your topic sentence, 3 pieces of text evidence. Do you use 3 pieces of text evidence in your analytical paragraph? No, you do not. But I make you come up with 3 because inevitably one of those pieces of text evidence is going to be kind of weak. So we want you to come up with 3, throw out the weakest one, and that leaves only your 2 strongest pieces of text evidence, okay? So your topic sentence could look something like this. Butler uses historically accurate depiction of setting in Kindred to show the danger Dana, a Black woman, experiences, oops, my spelling's terrible, in the antebellum South. Let me fix my words. Depiction, experiences. Okay. Butler uses a historically accurate depiction of the setting in Kindred to show the danger Dana, a Black woman, experiences in the antebellum South. So I have my convention, of historical fiction, which is what the prompt asks for, is right here. My meaning is here, okay? So I am doing all of the things that the prompt asks me. How conventions from the genre of, in my case, I chose historical fiction, impact the meaning of the text. The setting is the convention of historical fiction that I chose, and the meaning is that it shows the danger the main character experiences in the antebellum South, okay? You can do whatever you like, but I wanted to give an example of how to write a topic sentence for this paragraph, okay? Your analytical paragraph will go here. You'll get from me the analytical question number 1 returned to you this weekend. And then if I see anyone's analytical question number 2 turned in, I will also return it before Tuesday, because what we're going to do on Tuesday is we're going to compare analytical question number 1 and analytical question number 2, see which one you think is your better work. And then we're going to turn in for, we're going to revise the one you think is better and make it a little bit better. And then we're going to turn it in again. So you're writing 4 times, but you're getting graded 7 times. Does that make sense? Because we're going to revise our writing several times. If you have any questions about analytical question number 2, I want you to email me over the weekend. And that's that, guys. You'll be updating slides 4 through 6 in your digital notebook. That's the timeline and the character chart. Slide 25 in your digital notebook is just the questions related to this, this unit. You're actually reading sections 6 through 10, because 6 and 7 we were going to do in class, 8 through 10 you were doing for homework. I'm now giving you an asynchronous time period to do that reading on your own when we would be in class, okay? So you're reading 6 through 10, 6 through 10, 6 through 10. And then analytical question number 2 is due Tuesday. I really appreciate you being flexible for today. I'm sorry I feel so crummy, but I appreciate your understanding, and I can't wait to see you guys on Tuesday. Have a good weekend.